Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Longevity Plus would like to thank you for joining our webinar today. Our host, Dr. Gary Gordon, is an expert on nutrition, mineral metabolism, and anti-aging. Dr. Gordon is a consultant to Longevity Plus, where he is responsible for designing effective natural supplements that help to support optimal health. Today, Dr. Gordon and his co-host, Michael Bianco of Renua Medical, will be discussing implementing advanced healing through patient participation and financing. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Gary Gordon.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad that you have taken your time to be with us again this week. I'm extremely excited about the message that we wish you to understand today. A lot has happened since last week when we had Greg Westfall of Renua Medical explain exciting things that are available today with what I call advanced medicine. Now, I want to tell you that in this past week, I have seen front page news in the New York Times that patients that have had their breast cancer treatment by a surgeon who insisted that he had to take all the nodes out of their axilla and has left them with a painful arm the rest of their life that didn't work well and was often swollen and puffy, have wasted a lot of patient time and money because it didn't buy them anything. What I'm leading up to is that today's mainstream medicine, whether you talk about bypass surgery or stenting or surgery and radiation for cancer, is largely being proven to be ineffective and so expensive it is bankrupting our country. So the reason I'm excited today is that we know those of us who practice advanced, integrative, complementary, alternative, whatever you want to call it, are able to change lives. Now, this slide is just to remind you that things that are available all over the world, such as alternative cancer therapy, paid for by the government in Germany, are simply not available to you. So everybody in our country has been seduced by the lousy situation that once it's so-called approved by FDA, you think you're buying something. You spend $100,000 and you live 2 weeks longer than you would have lived. So I've got to help you move into understanding that the paths of getting these alternative therapies is littered because normally you're going to say, well, gee, if it's covered by my insurance and I paid into Social Security and Medicare and I'm entitled to all this stupid radiation, needless surgery, and chemo, you're entitled to it, sure, but what are you getting? You're losing the chance for your body to heal itself. This weekend, I was with Dr. Mehmet Oz and Dr. Michael Rosen. Everybody knows Dr. Oz, but what you don't know about these two doctors is they are as passionate as I am about educating the American public that natural approaches, which start with what? Diet, exercise, positive thinking, some meditation, lowering stress, the simple things that I preach, they are on the same page. They are canceling bypass surgery, even though Dr. Oz is a cardiovascular surgeon at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. So I need to help you, and that's why I'm so excited to have Michael Bianco with us today, because as you will see, we're going broke in this country. 25% of people have got back pain, but you didn't know anything until you heard from Greg Westfall last week about Truly Tesla. You didn't know that there's these exciting things. The big problem, of course, is how do we help you find the doctors, which is why I'm so excited that I have 3,000 doctors now that I talk to daily in my FACT group, and any health professional in the world can join. And I have this other obligation to make sure that we have you learn what works and what doesn't. So energy medicine, in my book, is the missing link. And Dr. Sinatra, who is one of my buddies because he, like I, teaches you that often you didn't even need the heart transplant. You just needed to know how to make your body work again. And so he's helping with his website to tell you that the physics. Now, why would I throw physics out? Well, it's because we're in the middle of some major changes going on. If we would just walk barefoot in the grass again, we would discharge some of the of the static electricity that builds up, and people start to have a better chance to heal along with the exercise. But we have this big thing that I mentioned 3 weeks ago, and that was that NASA has shown everybody that the Earth's magnetic field is collapsing. Now, that doesn't mean anything to you yet, but wait until you understand better. Maybe this explains why some birds are flying, just absolutely falling out of the sky, because they navigate based on the magnetics, and the Earth's magnetic fields are collapsing because we are all living in climate change, and Earth changes are occurring, so much so that the runways in Tampa had to be renumbered because 260 is no longer 260 because the North Pole has moved 60 miles, and so things are different. For you to learn how different they are, this link, and remember, today's webinar, like all, are always kept on my website. So I'm not going to go slow over the slides. They are there for you if you are moved enough to go back. And tomorrow you can watch this at your own leisure and stop and read this link, because this link is the most exciting 1-hour presentation. It is a bird's eye view of our planet that will really tell you what I mean when I say the Earth is in major time of change. Remember, at one time, Australia was tied directly to Europe, so those changes have occurred. And that was 750 million years ago, but time flies when you're having fun. I'm sorry, 750,000 years ago. In any event, the PEMF that we talked about a couple of weeks ago is one of the devices that I have to have our doctors learn why they need one in the office so that they can do things that will help the truly Tesla therapy that you can do at home once we get Michael Bianco involved here to tell you how you move into this. But I have to let you know there's science to all this, and it definitely, we can state unequivocally, we can restore a leg that was otherwise going to be amputated and predict that it will happen 100% of the time if you have the right equipment and we get you on the right program. And my program, of course, is on my website, GordonResearch.com. It's called my Fight for Your Health program, and everything I ring up in my program is helped when you have pulsed electromagnetic field or when you get the truly Tesla high voltage, low amperage electrical device that you can have at home that helps you with things like bone mending. We have an epidemic of people who get fractures and it doesn't heal. That doesn't have to happen. We also know that we have an epidemic now of depression. And it's amazing that places like UCLA and Stanford and Mayo are now offering a magnetic device that costs them $60,000, and you as the patient treat your head. And when you treat your head, amazingly enough, in 6 to 8 weeks, depression that nothing else would treat seems to go away. Why would that be? Because this simple $60,000 device, which costs you as a patient about $12,000 to be treated, this is turning on stem cells in your brain and helping rewire your brain. So even though all of us have major obstacles in life, and that can certainly contribute to our depression, but there are sometimes you're depressed and you can't put your finger on why. Well, one of the reasons is that we cannot metabolize the best supplements, and you've got to use supplements today if you're going to have high health. But that alone doesn't necessarily work for you because you may not be able to utilize those supplements if your body doesn't have the basic spark of energy. We call it ATP. That's the currency of energy inside of cells. So we have these devices that I am in love with because it's given me a brand new back. I can do things that I can't believe. For 20 years I was in pain. I couldn't stoop all the way forward. I was bent over at the back. It was getting pretty bad. But electrotherapy is things you can learn to do at home, and you can learn more about how we can manage pain. If I can stop your pain so you go back to walking or playing tennis again or golfing, if I can keep people fully active, we are entitled to live at least 100 years of full active life if we learn to get the toxins out and the good stuff in. And I have an 18-page report on my website that you can read that saves you watching the hours of webinars that I have put together, which is my FIGHT program, but all of it works better when we give you the energy. We can improve joint mobility in anybody, and we can help actually tissue repair and get rid of chronic edema, and we can treat all of these conditions, including incontinence. It's pretty exciting. And so when I get to the end of this presentation, Michael Bianco is going to step up to the bat and tell you how Renua Medical can offer solutions to both doctors and patients to help them access these exciting things that I am telling you is the absolute medicine of the future. You may have seen last Monday, National Geographic told about how they're going to be able to make your own heart out of your own cells and make a replacement finger for you. The future is extremely exciting. That doesn't give you a reason to abuse your body, but it lets you know that there is hope, that we can all do what we're meant to do on earth, and that is to prosper and do good and help our fellow man. And so Renua Medical is going to help many, many people because they are providing the necessary solutions, and one of them is the NeuroCare. And this device, when it is in your hands with the knowledge of how to use it, you can, this simple little box using Tesla-based current is what was behind not having to cut off the leg, the black gangrenous diabetic neuropathy leg of these patients. 89 out of 89 didn't need amputations when they got the necessary information from Renua Medical through Michael Bianco. And this device is FDA registered. It's state of the art. It has the ability to help you, but they have to tell you that it works through locally increasing circulation and re-educating muscles, stopping muscle spasm, increasing range of motion, and it is going to be very helpful in people who've just had surgery or a major injury, helping you prevent blood clots. So these are urgent needs today. We have so many people who can't leave the house today because they have to urinate for every half hour. And we have diabetic, the whole nation seems to be becoming diabetic, which leads to neuropathy, painful legs. Finally, we have people in wheelchairs. They can't walk, and their wounds won't heal, and they can't get rid of the edema. And they have lost the ability to use an arm or a leg, and so the arm or leg shrinks. And across the board, carpal tunnel, TMJ, all of these things, multiple sclerosis, these are areas where electrotherapy, when it is this unique high voltage, low amperage equipment, not the other medical TENS devices that doctors bought that kind of turned out to be a waste of time because they could not do what the right equipment can do. With this equipment, you can put actually 10 inches of muscle onto a thigh on somebody who's paralyzed with a stroke. But again, it all ties to getting the right equipment and the right information, and that's why I am putting together this team that will include not only the PEMF that I covered 3 weeks ago, and Greg teaching you about some of this in positive results with these devices, but other devices that we want you to learn about. And I have to train doctors how they can afford to buy this equipment and become a center of excellence so that they have this knowledge and the devices and make them available to the patients that I want to send to my 3,000 FACT members that I am teaching all this advanced medicine to. So there's two phases of it. I have to help the doctor understand that he can help patients with incontinence that he couldn't help today and avoid amputations that he can't help without the right equipment and the right knowledge. And Michael Bianco's company is helping make that available. And the doctor, of course, has to have some income to help him be able to share this knowledge with the patients. So it's an important two-phase thing. We have to teach everybody that these new things are available, and then we have to help you get the funding so that when you sit there and say, gee, if it's not covered by insurance, I can't do it. That is probably wrong, because with people, even with a low credit score, Michael Bianco helps you get what you need. So the Michael Bianco is going to help. Next week we'll be telling you about the ability to put a magnet between the top and the bottom mattress that can restore some of the Gauss, that's the magnetic energy, that our Earth is now taken away from us because the Earth is going through these changes. Why you need a magnet at home, I'll make it simple. If you had just a magnet and a little pocket laser, which you can buy at Office Max, I can show you how to avoid most root canals, and that's worth several $1,000s. So you need to learn. The sleep pads are another piece of this information. The cold lasers, the expensive ones, $2,000, $20,000, there's all kinds of them, but they work the same way. It's the energy inside of the cell. The cell is kind of like a battery. And all these things that I'm talking about are how to restore the cell so that it's a fully charged up battery. Isn't that nice to have a fully charged up energy basis for your body to get rid of toxins and take on the nutrients that I insist that we all take, which is why I want you to go to my website and download the 18 pages about how I deal with the causes, which is my FIGHT program: food, infection, genetics, heavy metal, hormone, toxins. But today we can now talk quantum mechanics or quantum physics. It's the same thing. And we can show you how pulsing magnetic fields, electrical fields, lasers, all of these things can absolutely bring answers to patients right now that without this knowledge will sit at home unable to leave, either because of diabetic neuropathy or pain or having problems with incontinence. And this is the lecture hall that we'll be filling coming up in only a couple of weeks now in the lovely city of Phoenix at the Buttes, and its meeting is being held in conjunction with my members of the Arizona Homeopathic Integrative Medical Association. So it will be 5 days of lecturing. This is my 18-page report that I hope all of you will download, and everyone that knows a doctor that's open-minded, that wants to have new answers to share with their patients, there is no charge for any health professional to go to my website. It's free, Gordon Research, and they will get 3 emails from me each day to remind them that I'm at a conference every day somewhere in the world picking up new information so they don't have to live in hotels, and will tell you how to treat autism and ADHD and prevent autism and have better outcomes for cancer than anything you can get in mainstream without question. Overcome infections, treat diabetes. We have incredible answers for insomnia with a brand new wonderful product called PM from Vima, how to deal with Lyme disease, how to go through life with menopause becoming just a minor irritation with natural products. So these are things on my website, and I have several websites. One is Gordon Research. That's the main one. But in addition to that, we have Fight for Your Health, which is moderated by a very incredible lady who overcame her Lyme disease and her MS and her cancer, and shares her experience at no charge with blog sites that you can go to and learn how all the things we're talking about and how zeolite can be part of your answer for detoxification. So at this point, it is with great pleasure that I'm turning over the rest of the presentation to Michael Bianco, and he's chairman of Renua Medical. And Michael, take it away. We're anxious to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gordon. Again, my name is Michael Bianco, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Renua Medical and Health First Technologies. And what we're going to be talking about today, of course, is the NeuroCare equipment, which we did a webinar on last week that was really excellent and really gave a clear understanding of what this equipment is all about. Today what we're going to do is kind of brief over what it means to you as a patient in working in conjunction with a doctor. It's so critically important in this day and age of medicine, as Dr. Gordon had mentioned, that the patients and the doctors have the ability to work together, and that's something that traditionally in medicine really just isn't there. Patient gets sick, they decide to go to a doctor, the doctor treats them, prescribes some medication or treatment of some type, and they either do it in-house or in the doctor's office, or they take the prescription and come back and visit the doctor for recommendations. Well, that's great up to a point, but there are so many things that that type of traditional medicine just can't accomplish that we can accomplish with products like NeuroCare, as an example, which is FDA registered, of course, for home use in conjunction with a medical practitioner's recommendation. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And of course, Renua Medical, in everything that we've done in our organization over the last 12 years has led us to this position with NeuroCare, where we're working in conjunction with a multitude of doctors all over the United States, ranging from anti-medicine to standard chiropractic work and everywhere in between, all over this country, with doctors that are participating with our company and with their patients to enhance treatments. And of course, it all starts with FDA-registered equipment. And we've got thousands of these units that are in use here in the United States and around the world with what we call proven proprietary protocols. These are protocols that have been established with more than 1 million monitored treatments that our companies have done with patients in all forms of different types of treatments. These are monitored treatments with specific protocols that enable us to effectively treat these types of issues in every case with great success. We also work with a lot of centers of excellence. These are companies, medical practitioner groups throughout the United States that we launched in 2010 that make it very, very available for patients like yourselves to be able to reach out and find practitioners that can assist you in working in conjunction with NeuroCare and their offices and their staff. That combined with NeuroCare and, of course, our company, Renua Medical, you have a well-rounded strategy to regain health in so many different areas that you've lost. Of course, again, working with key medical practices is a critical key to success in the medical profession. This is something that Dr. Gordon and his staff do extremely well. We were at the Anti-Aging Conference in Las Vegas, and it was absolutely awe-striking to watch the number of relationships that this group has with doctors all over the country that bring them to the reality of equipment like this that otherwise they might not know about. So these strategies really enable you as a patient to see some tremendous results because we can get you to medical practitioners that really make a living off of working with patients to help them regain health using this equipment. It's a true partnership, if you will, between patients and providers. When can you remember ever really having the partnership with a provider, where the provider's helping you and then you're helping them by doing your treatments at home? And this is one of the only pieces of equipment out there in this country that you can effectively do that with. NeuroCare is really the world's first true Tesla, or AC, high voltage, low amperage, AC output, neuromuscular electro stimulator. And that's a very complex word of saying it's a very high-powered, high-voltage muscle re-educator. It's phenomenal at helping in so many different areas of muscle re-education, from things as simple as stress incontinence to as deep and devastating as diabetic neuropathy and severe diabetic neuropathy and everywhere in between. It all works around a very simple principle of being able to contract and release muscles to create increased circulation. That's really what this equipment does extremely effectively. The biggest thing you want to understand as a patient is many of you may have used what we call TENS units, or DC-operated units, that basically mask pain and pain signals rather than eliminating the cause. The reason they do that is because they can only ramp up what we call voltage and voltage levels to an absolute maximum of around 125 volts at 90 milliamps. And when you're at those kinds of levels, 90 milliamps, you have to have a doctor involved in every respect because it is so very easy to create all kinds of major problems with patients because the average patient can only tolerate about 30 volts at around 10 milliamps. And even then, they're going to feel heat and pain and discomfort. Just picture, if you will, a microwave oven that uses 60 milliamps to cook everything. So when you get up above that 10, 15 milliamp range, you're starting to get into the level where, if you're not very, very careful, you can basically burn the flesh, as you can see in this picture here. You know, patients have been burned and found tremendous discomfort by using these DC systems. So today, most of the units you'll see out there for any form of home use limit themselves to an absolute maximum of about 40 volts so that the patient cannot get hurt. And of course, take this to the fullest extreme. If a patient is dealing with severe diabetic neuropathy, they're scheduled for amputation. They can't feel their legs. Can you imagine ramping the volume up with one of these units? It would be like standing in front of a heater and watching your skin burn, literally melt in front of you and not feel it, because there's no sensation in those limbs. That's why it's so very, very difficult to treat patients in situations like this with this type of equipment. Where NeuroCare is different is we are able to output like 440 volts of electricity at just over 4 milliamps. Very simply stated, 4 milliamps is nothing. You feel no pain, no discomfort, no heat, nothing. Very low amperage, and it enables us to ramp up the volume in voltage. And by doing that, we are able to contract the muscles substantially more than you could ever hope to do with these DC units that are out there without harming the patient. And as a result, our equipment gives higher and deeper contractions, massive contractions. It can actually create stress exercises, as Gary mentioned earlier in his presentation. We can actually take a stroke victim that is paralyzed on one side of their body and their muscles have atrophied. We can increase the girth of their thigh muscle, as an example, by as much as 10 inches just by providing these stress type of exercises in an area where they can't do it themselves. This low amperages, of course, they increase the patient's tolerance and therefore their compliance. Nobody wants to get hurt while they're doing something. They don't want to feel pain. They don't want to feel discomfort. I mean, if you think about it, somebody wants to give themselves a shot or get a shot by a medical practitioner. Everybody hates shots because they hurt. Well, it's no different in imagining thousands of these little needles piercing the skin when you're dealing with these high voltage units that create higher amperage. This low amperage cannot burn or injure patients. This is a very, very, very important statement, because what it does is it benefits the patient, because the patient is to be able to do more treatments and longer treatments because there's no risk of injury or burning. And they get, therefore, better results. Now, let's talk a little bit about one of the worst things you can imagine out there, and let's start with the worst and go backwards. Diabetic neuropathy. It is a massive epidemic throughout the continental United States and around the world. We did a test in Mexico about 10 years ago, to be specific, on 87 patients. You can see the study started in December and ended in February the 27th. This is a picture of an individual's open wound on their foot caused by massive diabetic neuropathy, in which the leg was scheduled for amputation. The color that you see in the center of the foot there on the left actually is the color of the leg, which is virtually dead, and they're scheduled for amputation. Out of 87 patients that were tested, 100% of them with issues like this went from the left diagram in December to what it looked like in February there to complete healing, and their amputations were canceled and their legs were saved. Now, we've gone on since then, as part of that over 1 million monitored treatments, to treat thousands and thousands of patients all over the United States and around the world dealing with diabetic neuropathy. And of course, as we continue to pollute our environment, to put the toxins in our environment, pollute our foods, and all the other things that we're doing to destroy our entire environment and everything around us, we are having more and more problems with diabetes, which of course inadvertently will lead to things like this right here in so very many patients around the world. So one of the most powerful parts about our product is that we are FDA registered, of course, but we are FDA registered for patient usage at home in conjunction with office protocols, which enables our patients to safely get longer treatments, closer together, and we provide patients with enhanced convenience and improved incomes as a result. A patient dealing with something like incontinence or diabetic neuropathy, to be effective with most of their treatments, they really should be at a doctor's office being treated literally 7 days a week. Well, they can't do that. It's not physically possible, let alone cost-effective to do it. With our equipment, the doctor participates with the patient. The equipment goes home with the patient. It creates highly motivated patients ready to give the clinic's access to tons of discretionary funds and income that they would never do with other equipment, and enables us to help them finance their way to health and to participate with the doctor in every way they need to in order to succeed. Co-management strategies by the doctors in conjunction with the patients just benefits the patients and improves outcomes beyond anything you could ever imagine. And of course, when this happens, our patients refer patient after patient after patient to this equipment. And as a result, the results nationwide for patients continue to improve and increase on a daily basis. Now let's talk a little bit about really a lot of the things that this equipment treats. These are very important markets that are out there, and you may have one of these, some of these, all of these, who knows. Some people are dealing with all kinds of problems that you would never know they experience. But one of the biggest issues out there in this country today is incontinence. Incontinence, especially stress incontinence, is over a $12 billion market just annually in just the supplies necessary to hide this horrible issue in which women and many males in addition literally cannot control the bladder because the small pelvic wall muscles have atrophied. And when that happens, the bladder drops and the patient experiences the inability to control their urine flow. We, in 6 to 10 week treatments on average, by simply getting the patient to participate at home in conjunction with the doctor's protocols and follow-up visits to track results, we are able to help patients all over the country dealing with multiple forms of incontinence for as much as a decade to eliminate those problems in about 6 to 10 weeks on average. Unheard of. And again, it's all based on our powerful ability to create extensive muscle contraction and to be able to be used on a regular basis at home rather than only in a doctor's office. And of course, we talked about diabetic and circulatory neuropathy, major issues that this equipment is absolutely tailor-made to work with. And how about wound healing? You saw those pictures. Wound healing doesn't just exist or isn't required in just diabetic neuropathy. What about open sores and ulcers and other issues that are the result of people that are bedridden in nursing homes, people that are in wheelchairs, paraplegic, quadriplegic? These are all people that have these kinds of problems that we can't even imagine that we can help with this equipment by getting the circulation flowing, by ramping up the volume of the pulsation of those muscles. And of course, when you think about it, standard muscular issues such as strength imbalances, moving out edema, which is basically blockages of circulation based on muscles that are in spasm or that are damaged and or are weakened or atrophied and not able to help push that circulation through the system. Of course, retarding and reversing disuse atrophy, that would be in cases where people can't use a particular muscle for one reason or another, or a part of their body, and their muscles begin to atrophy. We're able to reverse those things with this equipment by increasing the girth of those individual muscles. And of course, what about standard everyday muscle spasms? This equipment is unbelievable in helping with everyday issues from too much time in the garden to sports injuries to industrial accidents. It goes on. And people that have had knee replacements and have gone from a 120 degree of motion in the knee to 72 degrees, and then all of a sudden they start using this equipment, and with titanium-based knees or badly damaged knees, they're able to increase that motion from 72 degrees again back up close to the 120 degree level. These are things that people are seeing every single day. It's absolutely awe-striking, the number of phenomenal results that we have seen. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you a website that you can go to, take a look at a series of testimonials from different patients, video testimonials of tremendous results in all of these different arenas that we're talking about here. And then, of course, there's other applications you wouldn't even think about, things like TMJ and carpal tunnel, multiple sclerosis, and many other areas that this equipment, through its ability to ramp up that muscular volume, have helped unbelievably. Now, the biggest problem in most medical equipment out there in this country is it's expensive. Some equipment can be $200,000-$300,000. Only a doctor could ever hope to bring that in, and only if they can get enough results from the patients and the income from the patients justifies bringing that equipment in. It sounds terrible, but it's a monetary world that we live in. Imagine a piece of equipment like this that is able to be used at home and has a cost point that enables patients to use it at home. Very rarely will you ever see anything like that in the medical arena. Now, this equipment is priced at a total cost of $4,995. Now, write that down because it's an important number when I talk to you about some of the different financing. Now, for some people, that's not even an issue. Most of your credit cards today have $5,000 credit limits, $10,000, $20,000 credit limits. For other people, financing is always a problem, and even a small priced item like this is going to be a problem to get financed. So we've created a very sophisticated financing program that enables our patients to work with the doctors to do their in-home treatments. And we have literally the type of financing that turns down no one. Let me repeat that. Nobody gets turned down for the financing of this equipment by our company. The most important thing to understand is that by teaming up with the doctors, teaming up with our financing, and working together, we can find a program that will fit your needs as a patient to enable you to get this badly needed equipment into your home. We can even find homes for equipment for people that have credit scores as low as 480. I mean, that is virtually the bottom of the approval chart. But in this day and age, if you stop and think about all of the people dealing with so many issues with the home devaluations and walking away from pieces of property that have devalued to the point where they're not worth it continuing on, these all affect people and their ability to get financed. We've eliminated that by creating these powerful finance programs. With little or no credit, you're approved. And in many cases, we can even do credit lines that are available for our other patients and patient services for you as well. Let's say you've got a doctor that you're dealing with that wants to have you participate by getting this equipment into your home. And then, in addition to that, you've got a number of services that this doctor needs to provide for you, but you don't have insurance. You don't have the ability to get this type of program financed under normal circumstances. We have programs that allow you to add those different services that the doctor provides to the equipment rental and or purchase as well, and combine them and create low monthly payments that you can make to get yourself back to health and back into the work environment or the health environment by utilizing somebody else's money to do that. And yet we can do that with scores as low as 480 on the FICO scale. Again, the key to success is the doctors, the technicians, the equipment, and the patient all working together as one team to create this co-management of health that Gary has been talking about at the beginning of this presentation, and frankly, throughout this entire year and last year, and the whole concept behind the anti-aging world and the nutrition systems and the new techniques and equipment that is out there. Truly, co-management of health is the key to future success. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the website, Renua Medical. I'm going to give you a few little things that you can do to understand a little bit more about our equipment. And before I do so, I'm going to just take a minute here and talk a little bit about financing. Some of you are thinking to yourselves, okay, I can use my credit card, pick up one of these units. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on the equipment, of course, and you will know in advance anyway because we want you to go see a doctor first or a medical professional so you can see how the equipment works. But if you like, as so many do, 9 out of 10 plus find this equipment to be a tremendously powerful tool for themselves. We want you to understand that we literally can get anybody into one of these machines. And it doesn't take an arm and a leg. We've got financing if you've got a 650 credit score as an example or above, which would be considered about B credit. We can get you into one of these units for 0 down, no upfront money whatsoever. First payment you don't even have for 30 days, and your payment's only $151 a month to get into one of these pieces of equipment for 48 months. And if you pay it off early, there's no penalties for early payoff, no interest charges, no extra services, nothing. If you don't qualify for that type of credit and you can't get financed under normal systems that are out there, we've got an in-house financing program that takes the same piece of equipment, and for a $750 deposit and $250 a month, about $1,060 to get started, everybody can get into one of these machines and rent them over 36 months to own them. And at the end of 36 months or 33 months, the $750 deposit is refundable, is actually applied to the last 3 payments, and at the end of the 36th month, you own this equipment forever. So even if you can't get financing, even if you don't have credit cards, even if your insurance can't help you cover these kinds of costs, we can still get you into a unit. Now with that in mind, after everything that we've done here on equipment, what I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to show you the Renua Medical website. This website, which is at renuamedical.com, it's R-E-N-U-A medical, M-E-D-I-C-A-L.com. That's renuamedical.com. When you get there, you'll go to reference materials and videos if you want to see a full-blown presentation of the NeuroCare equipment. This is a very sophisticated amount of information, so keep in mind it's designed for patients and doctors. But if you were to read that white paper that you see there, it's about 26 pages, you'd get a very clear understanding. But most people will simply go down to this section down here on this page, and they'll click on that little arrow there and listen to the Renua presentation of this equipment. It's a much more in-depth presentation like what Gary did last week with Mr. Greg Westfall, and it'll give you such a clear understanding of what this equipment can do for you. Once you've done that, the next step is very simple. Go over to testimonials, because here is where we have a whole series of video testimonials that range from increased blood circulation, muscle re-education, relaxation of muscle spasms, maintaining or increasing the range of motion. It just goes on, and all of these individual videos that you'll see down here are all people that have literally had their lives changed. If you go down to the bottom of each one of these and you click on one of these particular little red links there, it will give you a video of the treatments being done on the patients. It's absolutely staggering how much success is created with this equipment. So we really do cover a lot of ground in most everything that we do with this equipment, and we give you so many ways to find out more about how it works. Now, lastly, for contact information on our company, as you can see off to the left here, our telephone number is right on the site, 775-246-1444. Extension 3108 is our general extension. You can email us at 775-246-1555. You can send an email over to ccc@renua.com. Get all the information you need there. Or you can contact us if you're using landline and you'd like to keep your costs down on long distance. You can contact us on our toll-free line, which is 877-885-1258. Everybody, the most important thing to realize here is that this equipment is revolutionizing the muscular treatment and circulation treatment arenas of this country, from back injuries to neck injuries to head injuries to leg injuries to neuropathies to multiple sclerosis to osteoporosis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, name it. There's virtually nothing that we have not been able to show results with using this phenomenal piece of equipment in the medical arena. We have specialists of every type out there. We're one of the few pieces of equipment that can focus its attention to the level that we are in Dr. Gordon's arena of anti-aging and unique medicine to the standard everyday mom and pop family practitioner that currently has no answers for their patients, like yourselves possibly, that may have incontinence, may have a bad knee, may have diabetic neuropathy, and they've got to refer you out to people you don't even know for help. That with this little piece of equipment in their offices and a team effort between you and them, they can treat you successfully beyond anything that these specialists in their own arena would do on their own. It's a phenomenal combination of patients and their doctors in conjunction with a totally unique and complementary, safe and dependable piece of equipment that is designed to get results. Now with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, Gary, and I hope sincerely that if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer, or if you'd like to get in touch with us, you'll call us or contact us on our email. And again, Gary, thank you so much for giving me the time today.
Well, please stick with us. That was wonderful help. Obviously, you've opened up the door for hundreds of possible questions. Somebody has emailed us and said, could the machine be used with frostbite victims?
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I'd like your response first, and then I'm going to amplify with that.
You bet. Again, you're not going to repair the damage necessarily caused by frostbite, but you can definitely reestablish a circulation flow. You can help to rebuild that area in certain respects and eliminate some of the devastating results of frostbite. The answer is most definitely yes, but we would put you in touch with a medical practitioner that you'd work with, or your own practitioner, and show them how to use this equipment to assist you in doing that.
There's another great comment that we've received. Somebody picked up on the Earthing, which is the book by Dr. Sinatra, and this person says, we notice that there's significant proof that earthing improves circulation by normalizing circulation. Do you think this equipment improves circulation better or more quickly? And if so, how do you explain the physical mechanism of how this is working?
Okay. The answer is, again, in my humble opinion, through my research, my studies, and the results that our company has seen, and the 1 million monitored treatments, Dr. Gordon, that we have actually witnessed as a company. This equipment,
yes,
this is absolutely unmatched in its ability to very rapidly and very effectively increase circulation in most every single case. And to explain that more clearly, picture taking a muscle in a bodybuilder, like a forearm. And Gary, you'll understand this immediately, Dr. Gordon, because you watched it. We had a psychologist came in from Kentucky, I believe it was. Came in at the beginning of our second day, and we did a treatment on him to show him. This guy was a massive bodybuilder. Remember him, Dr. Gordon?
You bet. It was very impressive.
This guy could curl 160 pounds. His arms were bigger than the average man's leg. Okay? He was built, massive, powerful guy. We put him on this little 2-pound piece of equipment, and we ramped the volume up in his arm, forearm and upper arm, to where he was doing the equivalent of 160-pound curls with this little piece of equipment, with no equipment. He was straining with everything he had. Remember that, Dr. Gordon? To just
I was very impressed.
move that muscle, and you could see the veins and the muscles bulging from the tremendous stress exercise that he had. The circulation was pumping through his system. And when he was done, he said he hadn't felt a workout like that in less than 3 or 4 hours worth of work. We did this for this guy in 15 minutes. And he came back that next afternoon for another treatment. And we did his abs and his pecs and in other areas. In women, as an example, and in men as well, by hooking up this equipment to the upper chest muscles, we can actually lift the breasts in a woman as much as 2 inches. We can strengthen the pec muscles of a man very rapidly with a piece of equipment while he's sitting at a computer working. Reason? It instantaneously focuses on muscle contraction. The more muscle contraction and the quicker that muscle contraction takes place and releases, the more circulation that flows through the system. Picture the heart. Pump, 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 consistently and regularly, and if it's doing its job, full circulation. So nothing that I have seen out there in my 40 years in this industry has ever come close to the speed at which this equipment can create massive circulation throughout the system.
It's easy for people to see other devices, and they're going to always think that, gee, that maybe there's another device. And yes, of course, I pointed out there are probably 1,300 different what we call TENS devices that absolutely don't follow the basic principles of Tesla, and they have it all exactly wrong. They don't understand that DC current is not the direction to go. They don't understand that it's important to have the low amperage so that it doesn't burn or hurt on the skin. And they don't understand the need to have the high voltage so we could take that powerful guy and show him. And the reason that this is so important is you all have loved ones somewhere or another that have been in a rest home, nursing home because they've had a stroke, and they have wound up as a quadriplegic, or they have some kind of paralysis, and the system is so out of control that once they're in a rest home, they can send in the physical therapist, and he can do some phony, passive movement of that arm or leg, and it doesn't do anything. And if we put this simple device on that arm and put the electrodes, then that arm or leg in that paralyzed patient will be working against resistance. And only by working against resistance do you have a chance of rebuilding the muscle. And in fact, rebuilding this muscle has been shown in some of these diabetic patients where we canceled the amputation, that they wound up no longer having diabetes. What? You mean diabetes can go away? Yes. Muscle tissue is metabolically active. Most people don't use their bodies, and so finally we're all flab and no muscle. But with this device, probably we're changing people's lives. And it's important to know that only when you speak to Renewal Medical and get in touch with Michael will you find out that some of the people that you would love to help are actually in a rest home, and Medicare would help pick up the cost of real equipment that would give real, meaningful possibility of recovery instead of just moving the arm back and forth and charging the patient $100. That's why the numbers of this instrument work out well, because you can be treating yourself at home twice a day, doing more than any $100 physical therapy would have done in 2 visits. That's $200 a day, and you do that for a month. You've already got $6,000 worth of care, and the machine only costs $5,000. So across the board, you are ahead. And from that point on, having saved your own limb and brought your own life back, you own the machine. And by owning the machine, you can become the neighborhood health coach, and you can be treating other members in your family who are subject to back pain that's keeping them from working effectively on the job or exercising. And you have a device along with a manual that will teach you how the many applications, because your neighbor may be living on the Depends or using other forms of paper that can keep the incontinence from making their urine soak up in all their clothes. And they're spending so much money. You go to any Walmart, you'll see all of the incontinence pads because they operate on men pretending that they're going to cure the prostate cancer because they lie and tell them that it has to be just in the prostate. We're sure we got it early enough. That's nonsense. Cancer is systemic. It is never a local disease. That's why we proved with the program that I worked with in Tokyo and Dr. Kobayashi, 10 years, 10,000 patients, no one dying of cancer. Because what did we do? We did a test every year to show you if you had a little too much cancer, we had you clean up your lifestyle and simplify your diet and get more sleep and lower the stress and get on immune support and detoxification and use a far infrared sauna. The point is that my website is destined to save the lives of thousands of people because I tell it like it is. Everything is multifactorial. If you have a doctor and he says it's all the lead or it's all the mercury, that's why your kid doesn't talk, the kid is also likely to be gluten sensitive, needs to be off milk, likely has some infections, live virus that didn't cure after we gave him a measles vaccine. The causes go on, and that's why I've summarized it all. And so what we're trying to do is let you know that if you want to find the road back to health, we are the pathway. And what we're trying to do is tell you that no one seems to be putting it all together. There are, as Mike has explained to you, several thousand of these machines out in a country that has got 300+ million people, of whom 25% of them are complaining of back pain right now. Now, I got you all confused right now because 2 weeks ago I spoke glowingly about pulsed electromagnetic fields. So you're saying, gee, Dr. Gordon, which do you like better? Do you like magnet or do you like electricity? Well, let's get it straight. You can never get a simple device that will be only magnetic, because you can't have magnetic without some electricity, and you can't have this wonderful device that we've taught you today from Renewa Medical, electrical, without having a little magnet. But the point is that they both work differently, but they are synergistic, and if I add a laser to that because of quantum mechanics, all of them are synergistic. So I like everybody to be rid of their pain today so they can go back to making a living. And I don't like it when you lose the use of a part of your body and you stop golf, you stop dancing, you stop doing bike riding, you stop jogging, you stop walking around the block because you're on the road out when you don't use it. And so across the board, I am really glad that today you've had a chance to learn a little bit more about how these pieces fit together. So think of it. If somebody owns a $5,000 device and it saved them from having their leg amputated, it doesn't have to go on the closet shelf, because there is these illnesses in everyone, and I'm trying to tie it in everybody's mind that we all share living on Earth at a time of great change. On my website, I have the CNN special, Toxic America. Watch it. Learn that every pregnant mother today is in danger of poisoning her baby because she is loaded with lead and mercury. That's why I teach detoxification. That is my passion, and that's why I use the fiber and the high-dose C, and I have oral chelation and zeolite. It is not easy to get the toxins out, but all of these pieces fit together. But you can't do it with just one thing. You're going to have to be willing to fight the war for health on all fronts. That's why I use the acronym, Fight for Your Health. And that's why I'm so excited that we have been able to now reduce the 8 hours of webinars I did on food and the power of positive thinking, focus, like we all know from Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief. It's what you believe. It's what your subconscious believes that tends to be. You don't have to have people cut their breasts off and take their ovaries out because their mom had breast cancer and they cover the gene for it. All of that stuff you're being told is all bad information. You have this nonsense because in Japan we have an epidemic of people who carry the gene for gastric carcinoma. Yet, even if everybody in the family had stomach cancer, no one developed the stomach cancer when they were on the program, which is Dr. Kobayashi's program, which I call my FIGHT program because it's an easy way for you to remember how all these pieces fit together. Now, next week, I'm going to have Dr. Dean Bonley, and he's going to bring a little more science to this because he's been the head of the North American Magnetic Research Society, and he's going to try to teach you that it is a little more complicated to talk about earthing, because when you are in a heavily populated urban area, the need for earthing may be quite different than when you live in a rural area. And I don't want to belabor the point. I want to just tell you that the devil is in the details. That's why I'm at a meeting somewhere every single week. That's why I send out 3 emails to the doctors who at no charge have access with the password we supply you to everything that I and other 3,000 members have said back and forth about how to treat anything from MS, which is so easy to treat, multiple sclerosis like falling off a log. Prostate cancer is one of the easiest cancers to treat, but you don't know that until you are a member of FACT and have access to the membership-only School of Advanced Medicine, where we can talk amongst ourselves, whereas we cannot make those statements on my public website, which does have 10,000 pages on it. So when you go to GordonResearch.com, please understand, put in the word cancer and you can read for an hour, or put in the word autism, you can read for another hour, or the word mercury, or the word magnet. But I'm trying to have everybody understand that what you've heard today is powerful information from Mike Bianco that amplified what you learned last week from Greg Westfall. And both those webinars are going to be on the website. Today's webinar will be up tomorrow. I thank all of you for your participation. I look forward to your active participation next week, when we'll have Dr. Dean Bondley, and we'll teach you why Dr. Gordon got so excited when I saw how many toxins came out of my body when I simply put a couple 100 pounds of magnets between the top and bottom mattress that I sleep on. And remember, sleep is really important, and the webinar that I have done about the PM product from Zima will be back up again in a couple of weeks, because the whole story of the power of good sleep is one we will come back, because when we look at health, it's exercise and it's the proper diet, and the positive thinking and the detoxification, but all of us need a good night's sleep. And with what we've heard about from Mike Bianco today, a lot of people who are in pain will be able to use this device and become fully active again, so they'll have normal activities and have restful sleep at night because they've used their body, and that's the only way we can keep it all alive. Thank you for your attention, and we're turning it back over to Liz. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. We encourage you to browse Dr. Gordon's website, which is www.gordonresearch.com, and Mr. Michael Bianco's website, which is www.renewamedical.com. The products that Dr. Gordon has formulated are available through Longevity Plus. Please visit our website at www.longevityplus.com or call 800-580-7587 to place your order. We value all of you, and thank you for joining us.